All right, I got this roll bar. So I was making another video on the interior, and then I changed my mind, decided to go back to the roll bar. So when I bought the roll bar, I don't want to finish my interior or put the headliner up and have to deal with it when I'm welding. So I am going to do the roll bar video before I do anything else. There we go. So what I have, I'm not, oh, you know what, this is installation kit. So it's unfinished, which is not a big deal. You want it that way anyway, so you can, got some plates. I think these are the plates that go in these go in the trunk. These plates go onto the rocker panels. Got the instructions. These are for the crossbar, because it's one of those crossbars where you can take it in and out. Let me get this out of the way. So this is a Detroit Speed in engineering, so the DSE for anybody that follows it. And you got the main hoop, and then you've got, this is the crossbar, I believe, and then those are the two that go back into the trunk, and then these are the plates for the trunk in which those supports weld to. So all this has got to be welded, and then these are the rocker panel type. Let me see. Let's see what's going on here. That might not be the right one. Might have got the wrong one for the wrong side, but we'll figure it out. And it may take me a second to figure out what goes where. It might be something like this. I'll have to look at it. Oh, they're both the same. Huh? No, they're not. They're opposites. So I'll have to figure this one out. It might be something like this. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I don't want to sit here and waste your time while I'm brainstorming on it. But so this is gonna be the roll bar. So what I'm gonna end up probably doing is putting it in there, getting it kind of mocked up how it's supposed to be. Maybe tack weld it, and then I'm obviously going to have to clean up all this pipe, sand it down, wax and degrease it, and then paint it prior to getting it totally up, because the hoop's going to come up close, and I don't want to try to shoot paint over the top of it. So the pieces that I have to weld, I'll leave bare, and then I can go and paint those and put weld through primer on it. The rest of the stuff, I'll get it fabbed up and painted. Now, the one thing about this roll bar is it's not NHRA certified, and it's mainly due to the fact that this crossbar is detachable. So I'm not up to code and everything on what's NHRA or not, but I believe if you somehow fix a permanent bar across, this is the proper, I believe this is the proper sized tubing and pipe you need for it to be certified. But I'm not worried about certification right now. I'm worried about just putting it in there and then having something to put my H-harness seat belts across the back. So it looks like, and I'm spitballing here, but the way this back one is bent, it almost seems like it can be bent back so that you can recline your seats a little bit. So there it is right there, and it's all its glory. Yeah, I just wanted to show that it showed up, and I'll be starting this. And I had a video going, but I put all halt to it because I wanted to do this. So I had my cart before my horse, so I had to throw the horse in front of the cart. All right, guys, I'll get back with you later. All right, so I went over the instructions, and what they're saying is basically from the wheel tub pinch weld, measure 7 1/4 inches, or 7 1/4 inches. So right where I put that little dot, that's 7 1/4 from the pinch weld. And then from there, you're going to measure another 5 3/4 inches, which kind of puts me right at that mark. And what you'll do is you'll cut out this pinch weld. So I'm going to cut out this whole thing, and then what this will do is it'll slide on, well, it'll be down in and slide. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Alright, so I cut out the seam. I'm going to tack weld that up, and then this will slide right in just like that. And then I'll weld that down, and then weld this down as well all the way around. And so that will be where the bar goes. Before I weld that down though, I'm going to do this side over there, and then I'm going to bring in the hoop and just kind of mock it up real quick. I'll probably put a tack weld on it just to hold it in place and just make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. I measured, measured twice, cut once. I've measured a bunch of times, but I just want to make sure before I go any further that it's where it needs to be. So I'll end up doing that side. The grinder, I don't know if you saw it, freaking burned right through. So I got to check my jeans because these are new jeans underneath it. So hopefully I didn't wreck my jeans. But all right, guys, let me cut the other side. I'm not going to film it later on. All right, I got it ground out. So the notches are obviously ground out on both sides. I've got this one, the tinfoil protecting my electrical wires on here. But what I'm going to do is I got welding rod. I'm going to put in that gap, that seam, and then weld that seam up. I pretty much just sawed out that whole lip right here and made way for the bracket. I did it on both sides. So what I need to do is get a welding rod. That's weld through primer I put on there. We'll get a welding rod, stitch up that seam, and then these should be dry by then. These are the brackets. I just put weld through primer on the underside of them because I'm not going to be able to get to them once I weld down. I threw some epoxy. I cleaned that up with brake cleaner, sanded it down, and then I threw some black epoxy paint on it. This is the VHT stuff. So I coated this side. So my thinking is that once this is in, if I can't get it back out, which they say you should be able to rock it out to get it out, but I don't. I'm looking at the geometry of it and I just don't see that happen, but it may. I want to make sure that I've covered it with paint all over. So what I did is I got it painted on this side. I'll have to flip it over, but wherever I have to weld it, and I kind of left the ends a little bare where I'm going to weld down here. But wherever these back bars are for the 4-point, I'll just go through it and sand those down, grind it so I can have a good weld to it. I just want to make sure I get the majority of it covered. So what I'm going to do right now is weld these up, stitch these seams up on both sides, and prep it for the plates to get welded in. So this is the other side. So you can see when I cut that seam off from, you get a better view over here, when this thing went all the way to this, so I basically cut a U out, it left a gap there, so I just need to stitch that up. It ain't no big deal. I'll just lay some welding rod in there, and where's it at? Where's my welding rod? So for example, I'll just freaking put this in there like that. You'll freaking, and then I'll just stitch right over. It'll be perfect. So all right guys, let me get to setting this welder up and stitching this in. All right. All right, I got this tacked in right now. I just got a tack right here and a tack right here. It's not going to fit exactly perfect, but the big deal for me is to make sure it is flush down. It'll require some massaging, but I need this to be flat and this to be level because this is where the bars sit. And I did screw up and tap into my electrical line while I was grinding. This is my electric fuel pump, so I didn't hit that at all. This is more my tail lights, but it went right through the. So what happened is I was grinding the weld and just got carried away and didn't see it and hit it, but it didn't cut through the wires. It just kind of skimmed the sheathing on two small ones, but didn't even hit the wire. I don't think it just hit the sheathing. But in any case, what I did is I put I separated the wires and then I put a liquid tape over it just in case. But if I ever run into any issues, I know exactly where to look. I think what I'm going to do, it's not going to hold me up neither here nor there. If it's, once this thing gets going, it's going. But I could hook up the battery and just test my lights just to make sure everything's good. But I'm pretty positive it's good because I grazed the sheathing caught it. The black sheathing caught most of it, and it just kind of grazed the wire. But kind of disappointing because I was actually trying to pay attention. So what I did was went ahead and got me a piece of scrap steel, and now I'm sticking that scrap steel, and this was running where it was running. Now I totally broke it loose so I can get it away from the area, which I should have done in the first time, but whatever. It is what it is. All right, guys. So I got this one tacked in. I'm gonna go ahead and tack or I gotta run the seam on the other one, then tack the other one in, and then I want to put the roll bar in and just make sure that everything's lined up before I start bleeding that in. Because once I start welding it in, you're gonna play hell trying to get out. Right now I'm just dealing with two tacks. So I'll go over here and do the same thing over here. Just like I did there. And I'll tack it, and then once I'm tacking it, then I can put the bar in and I can see where I'm at. All right, later. All right, it's not tacked in. I just got it in there, and I got this leveler on there. So at 90 degrees straight up and down, I've got it at 80 degrees. And what they suggest is to put it, get rid of this light a little bit. What they suggest is to get it in line with the C-pillar. So I've already marked up the required amount from my wheel well on both sides. So the back side of it's going to be, the back side of this pipe is going to be right on that line on both sides. What I used is these welding magnets just as stoppers, so that the roll cage doesn't just kind of flip over and flop. So I can get it to where I want, and this is where I think I need it right now. I probably could go ahead and tack it in, and if I tack it in, I'm just going to tack the front, something that I can undo if I need to undo it. Well, I'm probably going to need to undo it. But, and I probably did it, not probably, I didn't follow the instructions. The instructions say to weld the tabs in the back. And, where's they at? Those plates, those are what these back, the 4-point on the back go into in the trunk. I didn't weld those in. I'm choosing just to do the fronts first, and then what I'm going to do is now go into the back, and that way when I mock the board up, when I mock this board up, well, not the board, the pipe, I'll know exactly where I should put it, because sometimes I've seen it to where people's pads were misaligned and it didn't go where the pipe was at, and I don't know. I just figured if I work front and back, I am probably less likely to screw this up than if I went hard, fast, welded those pads in. Now I know where the pads have got to go. The pads have got to go somewhere around here, right on the bend, and so with the pipe will come through, and then this is what I was messing with earlier. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to sand that down and put those pipes in there. So right now, it's I only got half of it painted on the back. I'll paint the other side. I just didn't want to put more wet paint on until I figure out what I'm gonna have for the roll bar. So as you can see, there's plenty of space to put in your interior piece, and then I'll be able to slide my headliner up there after this is all said and done. These are just tacked in too. These bottom plates, I just tacked them in 2 different places on both sides. So everything right now is getting tacked in until I can get it kind of mocked up to where it looks good. If I'm happy with it and all the angles are right, I'll go in and burn them all in. But yeah, all right. So that's why I just want to bring you into where I was at right now. And yeah, it's coming. All right, guys. All right, I already made the patterns to where these are going to be coming through the pipes. In the instructions, they've got a pattern, and then you just flip it over, and I made some marks on there. Traced it out on here on both sides. I don't have a hole saw big enough to do that complete gap, because I was intending just to do that, and then but I've got one that's close, and so what I'll do is I'll just tap that hole saw in there, and then I'll grind it, or I've got a what do you call it, metal hacksaw. So I'll do it that way right now. So I'm going to cut these out, and as soon as I get these cut out, then it will allow me to take the bars and kind of mock it up and see where angle they're at, where they're going to hit back here. And again, I got to grind that too and weld them in eventually. But these bars right here, I mean these plates right here, are what goes into the back. And these haven't been painted either, so I'll end up having at least to paint the back side of them. Let's see. It's probably something like that.
So I just want to, before and it's already creased right where the crease is at here, so it kind of tells you where it's got to go anyway, just by how it fits. But before I burn anything in, I want to make sure that the pipe's coming back and hitting it where I think it should hit it. Because there's nothing worse than burning that in and then finding out your pipe's off or you're off a little bit. But all right, guys, I just want to bring you in on that the template. I'm going to cut them back little slots out later on. All right, I've got it tacked in. Got it all sitting through, and I've got my pads tacked as well. So both pads are tacked. I'm gonna have to, once I pull this out, so I haven't tacked this to this, I just tacked the pad to the ground. So I wanted to make sure everything was lining up how it was supposed to. But once it's out, I'm gonna do put some holes in here and then plug weld into the frame, because the frame is right here, and I'm gonna plug weld into the frame. I tried to tack weld underneath it with the inside of it without a light, and it was dark and I was all over the place. I freaking tacked the wrong thing and it's boogered up, but I'll grind it off. And I was missing the whole back pipe because it was just dark. But it's all lined up. It's at 80 degrees. Not that that matters, but it should be lined up with your C-pillar. This lines up perfect. Comes down through here. They say I should be able to pull this off, so I'm going to find out in a minute. But once I pull it out, I'm going to clean up this area right here. I just rough cut it. My circle saw, hole saw, freaking broke bits. I broke one bit, then I broke another bit, and I jammed it. And what happened is there's a step up right here. There's a step up, and when it was hitting partial step up, it was taking it and jerking it around, and it was just yanking my bits all over the place. So I ended up just taking a zip saw, and freaking lining it all up and cutting it out. So still at 80 degrees. I did not tack the bottom here. I didn't tack these pipes to here. I've tacked that to the ground. So really what I need to do is see if I can pull this pipe. They say it should come out, so see if I can pull my roll bar out, slide it out somehow. Once it's out, I'll burn in those pads. I'll burn in the back pads. I'll clean up around these edges and try to make it a little neater. You're not going to see it anyway, because I'm gonna put a package tray. I'll make my own package tray cover for this, but I'm going to try to clean it up some. And then once it comes out, I'll continue painting it. So I should be able to get everything cleaned up real good and painted. I did paint the back side of it, but just in case. But I think I'll be able to get it out. The instructions said as long as there's no modifications to your vehicle, that's whatever should come out. So we're gonna see. Hopefully everything comes out, because I kind of bet on that a little bit. But all right, guys, just wanted to show you where I'm at. It's all tacked in, kind of, so to speak. But once it's out, I'll set it down on the ground and then clean it up, burn it in, and paint it, and then we'll move on from there. I'll try to move it back in there. All right, guys, later on. All right, guys, I've kind of fast forwarded because I got on a roll, but it's all welded in, and I've got a coat of paint on it. It didn't come out, at least not for me, and I was not going to sit there and try to bend it all up trying to get it out. So I just kind of cocked it forward, and a good thing I painted the back yesterday, the day before, but I cocked it forward, and then got what I could get, and then got it in. So I pretty much got everything, I believe. A welder I am not. At least not stacking dimes. Mine looked like loose change underneath the couch cushion or something. But it was good. I mean, it's a good weld. It's gonna hold. It just didn't look pretty. And it's really, for me, it was kind of hard to get at certain angles as you're trying to go around and your gun's all getting cattywampus. So I got to give it to the people that know how to do that stuff. But when it was inside. And so what else let me turn the light on. What else I did was I put what do you call it, fiberglass around all the welds, seal them in, seal the seams, so everything is sealed up. The only thing I have not done yet is the crossbar, and so I'm going to probably do the crossbar maybe tomorrow or maybe tonight. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll wait tomorrow, let the paint dry and then measure it up, and because the paint's dry to the touch, it's just not dry enough to sit there and, you know, finger fuck for too long. So, but it does look good, and it's all lined up with the contours. So, you know, Detroit Speed, they definitely have it, and the notches were perfect. As soon as I put them in, and you just wiggle them a little bit to get to the where you need them. But everything was lined up. Like I said, my shortfall is, you know, if it was out and I was just welding it with, I think I'd have done just fine. But coming around and trying to go around a corner and the gun's hitting and then it starts spattering and then you got to grind it down and do it again. And but I'm confident that the two pieces of metal are melted together. It just does not look like dimes. It looks like, you know, loose change from a couch cushion. But so let me determine what I'm going to do with that center cross piece, if I put it in now or if I put it in later. But for you, it won't even matter. We'll just pick up putting that in. All right, later. All right, guys, I got the crossbar tacked in. So I ended up taking off probably about 6 inches each side. So it's angled back just a little bit so that my seat can recline just ever so slightly and get it all the way back. Those are the so I can take them off. So what I have now is I just have them tacked in on all the sides and all the little joints. And if you see down here, this is my bubble for being level on the car, and then it's level with the car. So right now I've got it all tacked in. I'm running out of gas. I ran out of gas, so I can't continue to weld it. But what I'm going to do is, now that it's all tacked in place, I'm going to disassemble those Allen bolts and take out the center bar, and well, I gotta get gas first, but then I'll continue to weld around those seams, and then I'll weld around the bar itself, and then paint it and then put it back in. But that's what it's going to look like in there. This clamp right here is what I use just to put my ground strap to. It makes it easier than trying to find some ground somewhere else. But yeah, she's coming together. All right, guys, I gotta get gas. Later. All right, guys, I'm completed with the roll bar. I did the, I gotta get out of the way here. I did the cross member, put it in, and I painted it. Well, I painted it 3 times. Once with epoxy black paint, and then I went over it with, after it dried, I went over it with this stuff. And I've had pretty good success with this high performance Rust-Oleum. It's pretty durable. And then after I did that a couple times, then the final coat, which was more for looks, is I got Rust-Oleum hammered. And I don't know if you can see it, probably not, but I got the hammered, it's still wet, but I got the hammered paint just to give it a little bit of texture instead of that super smooth stuff. So I think it looks a lot better with the hammered stuff on it than just the super smooth black shiny paint. But it's all done. Now I'll let it dry. Probably come out here in day or two once I know that it's dry, and pick up on the video that I started prior to that, which was the headliner that I got to the point where if I was going to put a roll cage in and a roll bar in it, I ought to do it before I put the headliner in, and thank God I did, because it's one of those things, if you ever have a plan or you have a wish to do something, and which was my plan and wish was to put this roll cage in, more for having the H harness and stuff like that, but then I diverted off of it and said I wasn't going to do it, and I thought, you know, if I get all the way down through this, I'll kick myself in the butt, so just let's stay on track. And that's what I did. I went and got the cage and then put it in. So I'm glad I got back on my original plan and my original track. So yeah, so I'll do the headliner. The paint still isn't here for my interior. That's all right. It should be here, I don't know, in a week, I'd imagine. But yeah, oh, one thing I did have an issue with putting this crossbar in. So I had the crossbar in, and then I tack welded it, and when I tack welded it, everything was nice and smooth, and I put like 2 tiny tacks on each joint, pulled it out, took those two Allen bolts out on each side, pulled the bar out, and then did it on the ground. I need a bench. The bench would have been so much easier than trying to bend over and try to have that thing flop around and roll around. But I welded it on the ground, and then when I went to put it back in, the heat, it didn't want to go back in exactly how it came back out, or how it came out. So what I had to do is put a ratchet tie across and just kind of cinch it up a little bit, and then it popped right in. So it shrunk. I think right now, if I wanted to, I'm not going to, but if I wanted to, you can take it in and out, it'll be fine. You just have to maneuver it. But I think if I wanted to, what I would do is heat up, I should have done it before the paint though, heat up all the bars with like a torch, and change the molecular structure of the metal, and it would probably ease right to where it was supposed to be. But I'm not going to do that because it's not that far off. It was just a little bit off. But anyway, yep, the roll bar is done, so I can move on. All right, guys, thanks for watching.